कमेंटा ना समा बाकी कर गए गो बनीनो 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 नेक बनीनो
Back with Alan. That is game one of the 2016 Cup final and the call made by Harnarayan Singh, the voice of Hockey Night in Canada in Punjabi. He joins us on the MSG 150 speed dial presented by Fios by Verizon. What a great call, and thank you so much for joining us. Did that kind of put you on the map?
Well, you know, we'd been at it for a long time before that call, but I think especially outside of Canada, for sure, a lot of people who were not familiar with our broadcaster, what we do outside of Canada, that call really did kind of expand our horizons and, you know, allow people to learn what we were all about and what we're doing up here.
And that call got you an invite to the Stanley Cup parade, if I'm not mistaken, that year. What was that experience like?
It definitely did, and that was unforgettable. I mean, Crosby, Fleury, all the greats of the Penguins we were right behind them. They were announced on the stage with the Stanley Cup. There was 400,000 Penguins fans there in downtown Pittsburgh, and right after them, myself and my colleagues were announced, and got to do the Bonino call for all the fans live there from the stage with the Stanley Cup. And the players were so welcoming, and so was the team. It was an amazing experience.
That's what Bill sounds like right before dinner. You know, generally when it's dinner time, he's yelling whatever it is to eat. But just talk about how you got into hockey, how you got into even this career.
Well, I grew up in a small town in southern Alberta where my family and I were one of the very few visible minorities. And I think early on, I realized I was such a big hockey fan. I was obsessed with it. But when I chatted about hockey with classmates or when I was trying to make friends at school, it became the icebreaker. And all of a sudden, the differences in my appearance and my culture and you know, I listened to different music. My family's vegetarian. We had all sorts of different faith and cultural differences between my classmates and I, because it was a small town and there wasn't much diversity, and hockey became the icebreaker for me. And you know, it was a cool experience because if it wasn't for hockey, I wouldn't have made those friends that I had growing up all those years in that small town of Brooks, Alberta. So you know, I was so obsessed with it. I went to broadcast school to become a hockey commentator, and lo and behold, very fortunate to be, you know, a part of the hockey broadcasting family here in North America.
Did you have to sell the idea to do it in Punjabi? Is there a huge following? How did this all evolve from a business sense? Because we all know Hockey Night in Canada is a big deal, but obviously it's a big deal to more than just the majority, if you will.
Well, yeah, and you're right. Hockey Night in Canada, the credit does go to them. You know, back in 2008, they were looking at doing some different unique initiatives, and they tried a couple of different languages, for example, Mandarin and Cantonese. And when they were told that they should try Punjabi because hockey is so popular within the Punjabi community, I mean, there's a certain portion of the older generation that is familiar with field hockey from the state of Punjab in India. But also when you grow up in Canada, if you're born here, you are immersed in hockey, and it's such a big sport here. And the credit goes to Hockey Night in Canada for trying different languages, and Punjabi being the third most spoken language in Canada, there were numbers to justify it. And then, you know, starting off from what they thought might be just a 1 year kind of project, it's been 11 years now, and it's been an amazing run for the show, for the community, and to grow the sport as well.
Kelly Hrudey, a former Islanders goalie, now a broadcaster as well in Canada. What's your relationship with him?
Well, Kelly Hrudey lives in Calgary, where I live, and you know, when the broadcast first started, even before that, I would kind of, when I was in college or in high school, I was always following around former players at either charity golf tournaments or, you know, staying late after games to try to meet these guys. And he was always gracious and approachable. And then when my broadcasting career started with when I was a reporter with CBC Radio in Calgary, he would come into the building and I would always go up and chat hockey with him. And then when I got the opportunity with Hockey Night in Canada, he became a mentor. I mean, such a great person, obviously a great hockey career, but so approachable, so genuine, so down to earth, always willing to lend an ear and to help. And over the stage of my career, whenever I've needed some guidance, he's always been there for me. And you know, it's something I'll never forget, and I appreciate to this day.
Now, we know you're obviously a huge hockey fan. It's a huge part of your life. It's your job. But you actually got married in a hockey arena?
Yeah,
With a Stanley Cup cake?
Why not?
Yes, that's right. Life-size Stanley Cup cake. The wedding reception was in a hockey arena. We took out the ice and we had all of the tables split on each end. And then through the neutral zone, we had a ceremonial puck drop, and Kelly Rudy was there for the puck drop. And,
That's awesome.
yeah, basically, we sent a lot of family, friends, and relatives to the penalty box. We had mini hockey sticks as giveaway. Even the invite was a Stanley Cup final ticket. And it was like my wife versus myself. And my wife, Suki's great. She's been a great, support over the years in terms of how much I've been traveling. But she loves the sport as well. So that's been, and being an elementary school teacher, she's creative. So the wedding we still have people like 7 years now into it telling us that was the best wedding they've ever attended. So it was pretty cool to hear that. We had a 50-50 ticket, and everything that you can imagine that would happen at a hockey game was at our wedding.
That's fantastic. Did anybody get thrown out? That's the other part of it, of course.
You throw the in-laws out, or what? You put the in-laws in the penalty box?
Yeah, we had the penalty box at one point was full of my side of the family, my uncles, a whole bunch of them were in there. And then we had our MC live at the penalty box, and he asked a question to one of my uncles saying, "You guys seem to be losing." And then he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we won already. We got the girl."
Well, speaking of NHL finals, of the Stanley Cup finals, what did you think of this year's, especially with the two big teams, the Blues and the Bruins? Big boys really getting at it this year.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a throwback to back in the day when, it was more of a physical style. But I think what's really unique about this cup run is the way St. Louis was able to turn things around. I mean, being in last place in January, we've all heard that story. But it's a bunch of unsung heroes. You have Jay Bouwmeester, how many games in the NHL? First, it took him so long to even make the playoffs, and now his first Stanley Cup. You have Ryan O'Reilly saying he'd lost the passion for hockey just a year ago, and then now, winning the Conn Smythe. And then you have Jordan Binnington, a guy who comes out of nowhere, the fourth string goaltender. And you got to give credit to their GM, Doug Armstrong, who stuck with it, even though the team was doing so bad. And it's a pretty phenomenal story, and something you'd only see in the movies. It kind of even reminds you of like the old Mighty Ducks of movie from way back in the day when I was a young kid.
All right, so here in New York, obviously the Devils have the #1 pick. Rangers have the #2 overall pick. The Rangers could end up with Capo Caco. How do you say Capo Caco in Punjabi?
I was talking about that actually with my kids, my 4-year-old daughter, and I was saying, yeah, this is going to be a fun name next season to call. And Capo Caco, we'll have to come up with some sort of unique way to get that going when he scores a big goal. But what's great to see is New Jersey and New York, both the rivalry there, and both of your guys' teams in that area having the first and second pick and in that rebuild mode. And I think the rivalry is just going to get notched up into another gear. Both teams are going to get a player that is ready to make an impact right away. And we saw Capo Caco at the World Championship when he played for Finland, and he was playing with seniors, and he dominated. What a performance. So, he'll be ready to make an impact and score some goals right away. So both teams are going to be, Hughes and Caco are just going to be amazing players, and everybody knows that already.
We asked Mike Breen, the voice of the NBA, this question. I'll ask you as well. Do you practice calls? Do you come up with something beforehand of certain players because of the uniqueness of their last names?
Well, what I find is when it's off the cuff and you're in that moment, those are the ones that are the best. And in a way, even similarly with the Bonino call, it was a mistake I'd made where I put him down in my notes for left wing, center, and right wing. And then in the heat of the moment, it just all of a sudden came out. The adrenaline's pumping. The best calls are obviously the playoff, the goals that mean the most, the overtime winners like you had Mr. Rose with the Stephane Matteau call. And there's been so many like that over the years. Even Buffalo had Mayday. And that's the fun part of it. I would say the playoffs are when you really that's when the adrenaline's pumping, and there's so much emotion, there's so much drama, and it comes out naturally in those overtime situations. So you can't really plan too much, otherwise it doesn't work too well.
You mentioned the Stephane Matteau call. We're going to ask you to make the call yourself as you take a look, so go for it.
That'll be awesome. Well, here we go. Stephane Matteau ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਾ ਕੋਨੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨੈਟ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਲਪੇਟ ਕੇ ਕਰ ਗਿਆ ਗੋਲ ਜਿੱਤਵਾਂ 7ਵਾਂ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਾ ਡਬਲ ਓਵਰਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਨਿਊ ਯਾਰਕ ਰੇਂਜਰਸ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਸਟੈਨਲੀ ਕੱਪ ਫਾਈਨਲ Stephane Matteau.
You're hired.
Love it, love it. Well, I was a Rangers fan growing up because all the ex-Oilers there, and then when you guys Gretzky, I had Rangers jerseys and Rangers flags in my room. So I have those games still taped on VHS. The Game 7 where Messier did the guarantee against the Devils, and then the Game 7 Stanley Cup victory against the Canucks. So the Rangers were kind of near and dear to my heart when I was growing up.
Harnarayan, we'll leave it there. Hey, great to chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out her right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.